So we make it through the go-go stage. Life continues to be good. We're in the adolescent stage. And we now have, we've got the entrepreneur, we've got the producer, we've got the administrator, so starting to put some structure in the organization, got some, maybe some hiring practices in place, maybe some human resource policies in place. We're making sure that we're in compliance with tax codes and all of that stuff. There tends to be a lot of friction at this stage. Conflict between those who want to preserve this entrepreneurial spirit where the company started and those who see that we need to have some structure to keep this organization moving forward. There can be problems with communications. Often we get incentives that are inconsistent with corporate goals. For example, somebody says, well, we need a top-notch salesperson, and they'll throw a lot of money at that person, and maybe that person will be on a very strong commission based on a percentage of the dollar value sold, and not selling the right thing, not paying attention to cost, and those kinds of things. So what can happen there is what's called premature aging. Premature aging of the company. It's just like teenagers doing the wrong thing. Why should we tell them? Some of you guys are by the way, as this company grows, we've got the entrepreneur, we have the producer, we've got the administrator, and up here, as the business is growing, to solve the dysfunction of people going in different directions and lack of communication and so forth, what role do we need? Right. So a high-level answer to your question is keep this corporate life cycle, or I'm sorry, organization life cycle in mind, because it illustrates the kinds of roles that you're going to need as you progress through the organization. And these are very key roles, and organizations will start very small and not have a lot of employees. So just keep in mind, an entrepreneur at this stage, as you grow, you probably may not want to hire other entrepreneurs, other people like you. We tend to surround ourselves by people like us, people who look like us, sound like us, think like us. That can be a good thing, but there really needs to be diversity in the organization as the organization grows. So we survive premature aging and we get to prime. And prime is green because that's where we want to be. Prime, everything is going well. We have diversity among our key people. The goals are clear, communications are clear, money is flowing, profits are being earned, investors are happy, banks are happy, customers are happy, things are going well. The challenge now is to stay there. But you might think that stable maybe sounds like a good place to be. The problem with stable is it's right on this edge. So prime is continuous growth. You want to be on the upslope, always something to look forward to. Make sense so far? Okay. So this is growing. The next stage is stable, and I'm going to use my own experience here. After school, I entered the management training program at Bethlehem Steel Corporation. Anybody ever heard of Bethlehem Steel Corporation? Okay, there's a very good reason why you haven't heard of it. In 1973, when I joined the company, Bethlehem Steel had $3 billion a year in sales, back when $1 billion was a lot of money. We had 120,000 people worldwide. It was a Fortune 30 company. And this management training program that I entered was called the Loop Course. It sounds kind of silly now, but the Loop Course and IBM's management training program were considered the tops in industry at that time. So Bethlehem Steel was stable. Bethlehem Steel was founded in 1904 or 5 and was in its prime in the 50s and 60s. And I entered in the 70s, and I didn't know about this organization life cycle at the time, but looking back, I joined when the company was stable. It was right on that accumulation of the largest quarterly loss in corporate history, American corporate history, until that time. So looking back, we were right on this edge. My career at Bethlehem was terrific. I was always in areas that were new areas, and I could create, I literally invented my own jobs as I was promoted. I was promoted every 18 months, so my career was great. Bethlehem Steel Corporation did not do so well. After this, several years after I joined the company, I saw this aristocracy start to creep in. The company built a 21-floor corporate headquarters building. The top people were on the 21st floor. The building was in the form of a cruciform, so if you're looking down on the building, it looked like, cross-section looked like that. Do you know why? Because that shape has more corner offices than any other shape you could come up with. So that's aristocracy. We had a fleet of corporate jets. Executives traveled first class, unlimited expense accounts, platinum parachutes, the whole deal. So we were clearly, again in retrospect, clearly on the downhill. So when you see signs of aristocracy in an organization, you know that that organization needs CPR. Then we moved into recrimination. And this was really interesting because I'd been there about 10 years or so, and the company was not doing well. And I was hearing it's the government's fault, it's the labor union's fault, it's the imports that are killing us, it's government regulation and taxes that are killing us, it's alternate materials, those aluminum guys and those plastic guys and so forth are killing our markets. It was an us versus them mentality. Every industry has its trade group, I suppose. Ours was the American Iron and Steel Institute. And basically, while I was there, all the steel producers were getting together and finding ways to lobby the government, criticize alternative materials, and that sort of thing, as opposed to each company paying attention to its own knitting and really trying to improve. So that was the recrimination phase. And then a little bit later in my 22-year career with Bethlehem Steel, we got into the bureaucracy. And the bureaucracy was all about preserving the organism. It wasn't about the customer, it wasn't about product development, it wasn't about customer service, it was about preserving cash. So getting rid of people, reducing salaries, cutting out everything that could be cut out, all sorts of creative financing to keep the company alive. And it was at that point that I left after 22 years. And let's see, I left in 1995. And because I saw that not only the company was not headed in a good direction, but that all of the top people were bureaucrats, and they really didn't care about anybody else's career or anything else that was going on. So I had no thirst for that. So it turns out that I left in 95, 8 years later, on its 99th anniversary as a company, the company was liquidated. So that was his death. So I got out at a good time. So we look at the organization life cycle, we have growth, and we have aging. Aging is not irreversible, but the further down you get, the harder it is to do it. So again, those of you who are starting companies, you have a lot of good things ahead of you, a lot of growth stages. I just want you to be aware of these different stages and some of the pitfalls, the key functions that need to be performed for an organization to grow and be successful, and also give you some idea of the symptoms of a company that's no longer growing